Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever experienced that awkward talk with your parents about the birds and the bees?
What is the birds and the bees, Kyle?
Honestly, I don't know, and I think that's why we're on this journey today, to speak about a few things like that.
Yes, well, I wish someone had a talk with me because my wife's about to pop out a second kid.
Yes, you definitely did not learn from the first one, did you?
No, definitely not.
But at the end of the day, it's a good experience, and I think that's why you've had another one.
Yeah, well, you love them and, they grind your gears, but yeah, I guess at the end of the day, there's like some unconditional love, and we're really excited for the second one. So I think 4 weeks to go, and number 2 will be here.
Yes, well, I think today is a bit of a question and answer towards you, and then also back to me with, understanding what it was like before, and then understanding what it was like after having a baby. So today's going to be one of those episodes where it's understanding the realistic and the expectations.
Yeah, and I guess if for the ladies that are listening out there, this is coming from my side, and this is my journey as well. I'm very lucky for the wife that I've got. She's very understanding, and she gives me a lot of free rein, I guess, allowing me to do this podcast with the 2-year-old, and she still wants to encourage me to continue this even once we have the second one there. So I've got a very solid relationship.
Big props.
Hats off to my wife. Big shout out.
But even though, like, if you ladies that are going to listen or are listening, be sure to put something down in the comments of something that we didn't mention but you had experienced. Because, we want to hear your stories as well. That's why we called the listeners.
Yeah, that's it. And, my wife experienced through, trying to have a child during the pregnancy, the birthing, and afterwards is just one story out of, billions of stories out there. Each are very unique, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, that's it. So let's start with the big question. Did you always want to have kids?
Bloody oath, mate. Yeah, definitely. I've always wanted to be like one of those young, fit dads, with a full ripped body. But
well, he's dreaming in this one.
Yeah, there's a bit of a gut at the moment, but no, I just want to be healthy, and I wanted to be like my old man, who, like, what I remembered was he was always playing tackle footy with me when I went and visited him and stuff like that. So that's what I kind of wanted to carry on in my family.
Yeah, I think, I've got the same views. I want to be able to be young, fit, so by the time they're, still 16, 18, 21, I can run around on the footy field or a bit of wrestling around the lounge room and stuff like that, just to stir them up still, because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy having kids, not being on the sideline and watching.
Yeah, and, kids, the way I see it is they'll eventually turn into your best mate. That's your son or that's your daughter, that you should have a really strong relationship, which is where you should be able to trust and share information like this podcast is, in a safe place.
And when you're talking about safe place, broken families, from nowadays perspective, is most parents that I know are split. Like, my parents are split. I think Josh's parents are split as well. And I was quite lucky that I got to grow up with my parents being together. But once I hit 18, that's when it kind of, didn't go the way they expected. And we're all in our own separate lives now. We all still communicate and stuff like that, just not under the same house. But I'm just glad that I was able to understand what was going through, where some kids don't get to understand because they're such at a young age.
Yeah, and I think we'll, like, for our stories, we'll probably touch that in a later podcast. But for me, and from my experience, I never have, and I still don't want a broken family. You know, it's great when you're young, you know, you get double everything. But what we find now with me and my wife is there's a lot more involved when you've got a lot more responsibilities. You know, there's double the people you've got to see. You know, you've got to juggle families. This Christmas I'm spending here, and, you know, this birthday it's going to feel awkward. Well, I feel awkward anyway when, you know, I don't want any drama to happen or anything like that. So, yeah, it can be quite intense, and that's the downfall. And also, like, you don't want to see your parents split up as well. But yeah, that's the main pressure that I face these days, just from coming from a broken family.
Yeah, well, like, it's which one do I pick? Oh, well, if I don't go to my mum's going to be upset because I chose my dad over her, and then it becomes this big argument where you're the middleman trying to make everyone happy. And sometimes it's just not worth doing it because you have to deal with that bullshit that comes along with it, where you just wish sometimes that they took a step in your shoes to understand, hey, it wasn't our relationship, but we're a part of it, so you need to respect that we have our own lives at our stage now, and we need to take it day by day with what we're doing, and we try and do our best to impress everyone, or not impress, please, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I understand, and you'll probably find a lot of people go through that. So you're not alone when it comes to all that.
Yeah, definitely. So, but once we kind of figured that, you know, well, I actually approached my wife first and said, hey, I want kids. And this was before we even thought about even getting married, you know, like my wife come from a broken family as well. And it just, for us, that's what marriage kind of seemed to be. Marriage was kind of one of those things where you get married, you last a couple of years, and because you got married, you end up like divorcing. And, you know, I think it's something, the statistics are really bad. I think they're once 50%, but I think it could have gone up to like 75% now of marriages end up in divorce. So for us, it was kids before marriage, because that's what marriage was representing to us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, in a lot of ways, I think social media, phones have kind of, in my opinion, took a toll on the word love. Because back in the days, it would, you go to work, have a good day at work, come home, see your wife, give her a kiss, help her cook dinner and play with the kids. Where now it's come home, sit on your phone, browse around, get interested at something else and move on.
Yeah, and that's something that's a challenge for me today, especially like as we're doing this podcast and all the other things that and goals I've got in my life. You know, sometimes I've got to keep myself in check, and sometimes I don't. And that's why, you know, the relationship I've got with my wife is very good. She can keep me in check at times, and it's a balanced relationship, and that's what you actually need. So probably my first point is, before you even have or thinking about having kids, is really have a look at your relationship, you know, talk to one another, understand each other's roles and expectations.
Yeah.
With when like wanting kids, and to, you know, if you want kids, you know, your partner might not want kids, and, you know, are you wasting your valuable time on this planet with, sure, someone you love, but like I know in my family, I know someone that eventually wanted kids but didn't know until later on. Their partner of many years has unfortunately, you know, gone to a halt, but they've found someone now and have got a kid along the way, and they're very happy. But who knows, they could have found, you know, could have sped up the process if that's what was wanted or needed. But at the end of the day, everything worked out, which is good.
Yeah, well, this takes to another point, is how long do you think you should be in a relationship or with someone before you have a kid? And my personal preference is it doesn't matter. It's more of the fact of, are you in it for the long run or are you there just for a bit of fun? Because
Yeah.
love is love. You can't, no time is set on that word. I've been with my partner for over 4 years, and we want kids, and we really want kids, but we're not set for it yet. We're not ready for it. We're still learning, we're still growing, and it's one of those things where we just want to be a little bit more mature about it and just take our time instead of just going, oh, we want kids, let's have one.
Well, for me, it's not really a time thing, but it is. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think the first year you're kind of in that little love bubble, where you go and
It's
see.
called honeymoon.
Yeah, the honeymoon period, that's it. And, you get the butterflies when you go and see them. You're all excited. You've got, you enhanced sex drive and, physical attraction and...
Oh, I've still got that, baby.
I'm not saying it ever dies, but it can change in a way. And
definitely over time.
And then there's another important thing is I don't think it's just solely on time. I think it's very important that you move in together. You understand how you're going to work as a team around household duties and, work to life balance ratio. And and that will teach you how you two will communicate with each other. And that's when you've sorted all those out, is when you can really determine if you're ready to have a child or not. I'm not saying that's the correct way, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, I believe there's never a good time to have 3 things. That's a baby, to buy a house, and to get married. Because they all cost a shit ton of money. But, if you made up your mind, you're ready. Well, you're never going to be ready. You just go for it. And that's what we've done with 2 out of those 3.
Yeah, and that puts us on what do you call it? Your living conditions, and your finances and the period of time you are in your life. And with you, Josh, you guys ended up having the young one during COVID, the first lot of COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he shouldn't have been. We actually were trying for 3 whole years, and the first, I'd say, 2 months were all like, yeah, sweet, or maybe even 3. And
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and it's like, I've missed the big period, and we're like, oh, maybe, and then just negative test, and eventually we just end up like, just pretty much not wearing protection and not caring. We're like, oh, it's never going to happen to us. Honestly, like those 3 years, it just beat us up, and we're just like, oh well, it is what it is. But we did everything. Like I got my sperm count checked and like how healthy my semen was and everything like that. When we were living at Newcastle at the time, we even had an appointment booked to go and see a fertility specialist, and the consult alone cost like $400 or something ridiculous like that.
So what do they do there for that?
So with when you haven't conceived after, I think it's 12 months or something like that, they recommend that the male goes and does a sperm count. So pretty much you get a container, I don't know how to say it. You whack one off, you spunk into the container, and you got a certain time limit to race it to a lab or something like that. And within 24 to 72 hours, you get some results. And the results will tell you if you've got semen in there, 2, if it's healthy enough and the shape of them. Now, myself, I was actually a low sperm count with a relatively normal shape, and a lot of things could have factored for that. It could have been my high drug use when I was a young teenager. It could be alcohol. It could just be natural, it could just be like, that's how I was born. But yeah, that's pretty much on the male side of things.
So what happens if you're good, and then how do you go about checking girls?
So if the male is all well and good, from our experience, we went back to the doctors. They told us to try a couple more times, and then nothing happened. So they recommended that we go and book an appointment for a fertility specialist, which then checks the female side of things. Because, now don't hold me to this, but I think it's a bit more intense and involves a bit more, looking at their eggs and the egg count and whatever it is. And I think they try and determine if one side of the ovary is releasing, or is it both, like is it taking in turns or something like that. But yeah, it's all to do with the females.
Yeah.
And fortunately for us, we actually never went to that consult, because we moved from Newcastle down to Sydney. And once you book like a consult, you'd have to always go to that clinic, and I wasn't driving from Sydney up to Newcastle every clinic, or to do IVF if it ever came to that. So, but once we moved to Sydney, 2 months later, bang, there he was created.
Yeah, right. Well, then you've got your 12 weeks of stress.
Oh, mate. I remember Tiff telling me, look, we got a baby, and I was really excited at the start. But then after that, it's, don't get too excited, because we can lose this baby quite easily. It's the first 12 weeks, it's super fragile. She could miscarriage for any reason if it doesn't grow properly, or, yeah, there's endless amount of possibilities why. So, we found out at 5 weeks, so nearly halfway through, but, it was all good, all healthy, strong baby. So we're just very, very lucky.
And then because of COVID, like your support groups for your mums and education and stuff like that, that would have been a bit of a challenge, as, you can't really speak to anyone about it unless, you've got friends around you that you know of.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks to COVID, no mums groups or educational groups. It was all just, you're on your own here, winging it. So,
yeah.
But Tiffany had a lot of experience with babies from her career, and not just babies, but she also has dealt with children with disabilities as well. So I had a lot of faith and trust in her that no matter what happened, we were going to get through this. Actually, I was more stressful about my living conditions and finances at the time.
Yeah, and I think that's when what we spoke about before in our first podcast, where you were contracting at the time.
Yeah, well, I literally had only just started really being able to contract out for a whole week worth of work when I found out about Harvey. So, and I was just lucky that I had that forward trajectory where I was able to maintain week after week worth of work. So, but I was living in a granny flat, 2-bedroom granny flat, where one of the rooms was just, all our shit was just shoved in there. You could barely open the door. So my wife was like, we need to get out of here. And she chose, well, not she, we chose a cracker of a spot. We Lethbridge Park, where you didn't have TV, but we definitely had the domestic violence channel outside.
Yeah, right. And that's where moving wanted to come into places that wasn't the most safest environment for you guys, especially when you're coming into that period of popping.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to raise a kid where 11 o'clock at night I had ice addicts running down my street, banging on cars and fences, and the neighbors over the road, dropping the C bombs, and at their 8-year-old kid, locking them outside at 11 o'clock at night. That's just, I believe your environment and how you are brought up has a massive impact on how you will be when you're older. So we had to quickly jump ship again, and we ended up into a nicer suburb about 15 minutes away. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah, it was a stressful time there about finances and living conditions, but we managed in the end.
Yeah, and then the time of it's coming.
Yes, so he came pretty. What is it? He was born in March, April. He was born in May, so that was pretty much smack bang when COVID was nice and fresh.
Yes.
And my wife had a very difficult and complicated pregnancy. So he was something like between 5 and I'm going to get in trouble for this. I think it's about 5 to 11 days overdue. I can't remember. And
Yep.
And so it was like 41 plus weeks. And we went to the hospital, and because of COVID, I wasn't allowed in. So I had to sit in the car and just wait for my wife. And she went in there and got something called a balloon, which they put a balloon inside your vagina to try and dilate you, so the baby is then going to come out easy, I guess.
Yep.
And so I waited in the car park for 3 hours, I think it was, before she came out. And then we went home and, just continued on with our normal day. And then I think the next night, it's only supposed to stay in there for like 24 hours. My wife called them again. And they're like, oh, we completely forgot. It should have fallen out by now. And she's like, are you serious? And they're like, no, you should definitely come in. This is an emergency. We need to get it out. It shouldn't be in there. And I was, now this is when you've got a good wife, because I told the guys on Xbox when I was playing Sea of Thieves, I was like, all right, guys, I've got to go. And my wife's like, nah, look, just finish your game. How long are you going to be? I'm like, how long, guys? About 3 hours later. Where we're only hopping into the car driving to the hospital. But and then I waited in there for 4 hours. I think I was in the car park that time, but I was prepared. I had laptop and Netflix and fully charged battery, so I was I was well prepared for that one.
Yeah, and that's where the whole COVID, you don't really get that experience of being intimate that whole time, and you're just lonely. Like, imagine how Tiff would have felt throughout the whole thing, being there by herself, not knowing what's going on, as she's got a baby wanting to come out and she's in a lot of pain. Like, it would have been scary.
Oh, definitely. And not to mention, like, she's just, by 41 weeks, you're just over it, apparently. You just get this friggin' thing out of me. So
yeah, it's not like an exciting waiting game. It becomes a hurry up waiting game.
Yeah, and first time doing it, not knowing what's the process or what rights you're allowed and stuff like that, to do it all by yourself and not have your partner by your side, a very intimidating process. That's for sure. So, and
then also like the after effects of having the baby.
Yeah. Luckily I was allowed in eventually. So they did tell Tiff, look, we're going to induce you tomorrow. You can stay the night. So we end up sleeping at the hospital that night, and 7 o'clock in the morning, they put her on a drip, which forces the contractions. But the drip makes these contractions like 10 times worse than normal contractions. So, because it's your body now being forced to expand, and apparently it's like 20 bones breaking at one time.
I'm glad I'm a male.
Oh, I was about to say hats off to all those women out there that have given it a go.
Yeah, like kicked in the balls. Yeah, that definitely does hurt. But if you said you want to deal with a bit of pain that's 22 bones breaking, yeah, I'll leave that to you girls.
Oh, you're not wrong there, mate. It's stuff that
I've always wanted to try those pulsating pads that go on like your stomach to see what it feels like.
No, I'll be a little bitch. No, stuff that. If that's what it feels like, 22 bones. No, sorry, mate. I'm tapping
But you
out.
know what? It's the one. It's the one conversation where you say males have better tolerance than females. But every single time you say that, at least one female goes, "Have you ever had a baby before?"
And you know what you say? I drop them off to the pool every day.
Nah, I'd be saying, "Have you ever dealt with a female before?"
Well, actually, for all the men out there that have had their wives go through a really bad birthing, like hats off to you too, because it is just so draining. I'm not saying that it's harder than the women, because it's definitely not, but the amount of, I was turning the shower on, because they have showers there, putting her on the shower, putting her on the seat. Are you okay? Yeah, sweet. Do you want me to put some music on? Then I'm connecting the laptop up to the surround system, playing some music. That's not the right one. Okay, quick, I'll change that music. Okay, hotter water? Cool. I'm going to put some hotter water on. No, I don't want to have a shower anymore. All right, sweet. Now I've got to go and get the towel. Turn the shower off. I'm cold. Okay, can you ask the nurse to turn the bath on? Oh my God. Go and turn the bath on. Oh, and I want to go in the... Oh, they got like this little... it's kind of like a hammock type thing. I want to lay on that. I want to do this position. I want to do that position. I want to go back in the shower. I want to do this, that. Oh, man, it is draining. And that was like that from, I don't know, about 2 p.m. to it was roughly about 8 o'clock, because it wasn't too bad at the start, but it really intensified at the whole hour from 2 to about 3. And then she couldn't handle it anymore, and she was like, "Stuff this, I'm getting the epidural." And so, I've gone to the doctors, gone, "Hey mate, look, she wants the epidural, And then he's like, "Okay, we're going to have to ask her a few questions." And they're sitting there all nice and calm going, "Tiffany," and you're like, "I don't give a fuck, give me the epidural." You're just like, dude, she doesn't care. What you could tell her that you're going to blow someone's head off outside, she would not care right now. Just give her the epidural. But, obviously, there's protocols and system and procedures. So they asked her these questions and said, "Yep." And the last question was, "Have you had any surgery?" Well, you might as well just kicked him in the balls then and there, because she had back surgery because she had scoliosis.
Yep.
And no one in the room, even though they had access to some medical files, didn't have access to the medical files of where she had her surgery on her spine. So she had to wait an additional, I think it was 45 minutes while I'm calling her dad, and dad can't remember if it was C1 or C4, or, calling her grandmother, who obviously didn't know, her sister. And then they're trying to call the doctor that did the surgery. And 45 minutes later, they're like, "We got good news. Here we go." And then, I think once she had the epidural, bang. That was the intensity just paused for a good half an hour. And for all you men out there that has done it longer than, 5 hours, hats off to you, because it was just absolutely tiring.
Yeah.
And it sounds tiring, doesn't it?
I'm getting tired listening to it. But with the epidural, doesn't it because she's not feeling the pain, doesn't that make her body relax? So it's not what she's not wanting to push.
I don't know too much about it. I know there's a few negative consequences that can happen. It can cause when I say short term to medium term paralysis, extreme numbness, I think it can cause numbness for life as well if they don't put it in properly. There is some scary things to it.
Yeah.
But what it pretty much does is numb the whole area, and obviously when it wears off as well,
she's gonna start feeling it again.
Yeah, but when you get the epidural,
because you're only allowed one, aren't you?
Yeah. So when you get in the epidural, you can't do the shower or the hot tub or go in the hammock. You have to be in the bed, because you can't walk. There's no way you're walking.
Yeah.
But funny story, when we finally got the epidural in. I sat down and I said to myself, all right, I'm just going to chill out for like 20 minutes. I just need 20 minutes. And I said, babe, you're all good. And she goes, you know what? I haven't felt any better. Like, I have no pain right now. I went, sweet. And I was like, you wouldn't mind if I watch some YouTube just for a little while? There's a game I really want to get. And she goes, yeah, sure. So I wanted to watch the new Assassin's Creed one was coming out, Valhalla. And obviously, like, it's connected to the surround sound. There was a nurse in here.
Yep.
And just as the doctor walks in, an ad pops up. And it goes, so seductive. And I'm like, I swear to God, I am not watching porn.
And she's like, are you already trying for the second one?
I think the comment would have been like, do I look that bad? But no, it was pretty, I was like holding the laptop up going, I swear it's a chocolate ad. I swear it's a chocolate ad.
Yes. So once you've done that and then the baby's popped out.
No, well, it didn't come out that way. Like Harvey, my son, he lodged himself in Tiff's pelvis. So at 10:30 at night, she got rushed in for emergency surgery.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And this is where women who haven't had a baby yet, and even that have had babies and probably have had a really easy birthing story, you actually have a lot of rights that we actually missed out. Like, I didn't get to cut a cord. Tiff didn't know that you could have the screen up or down. She didn't get to hold him when he came out. There was a lot of things.
So are these things that you have to like scream at them to do when it happens?
You just tell them like, I want to hold my baby, or stuff like that, or hey, I'm cutting the cord. So when he comes out, and they've got to cut the cord to make sure it's a clean cut and there's no infections, but then they leave a bit of extra cord on that I will then get to cut.
Okay, so I thought you'd just snip the whole thing.
No. So especially when you're doing...
Oh, so it's totally different to watching it from the movies.
Well, that's my experience anyway. And that's for an emergency C-section. So especially that she's going to be like completely opened up, they've got to think about, am I clean? Especially me back then, I had the full Viking look, the big raggedy beard I had with the shaved sides and back.
Yes.
So, yeah, like all that had to be covered and everything. So, for hygiene purposes and infections and stuff like that.
I think it was safe to do it the quick way instead of...
But still, I would have liked them to have left the cord on there and then for me to cut the excess cord off later. It would have been nice because I don't get to experience that with Harvey. So
yeah,
Tiff had an emergency C-section and he came out and it was just like I was gutted. And I know this sounds really weird. I was really happy he was a boy because I get to continue the family name and legacy and stuff like that. But I wasn't prepared and I didn't have the education that babies' heads were so soft that they change in a matter of hours. So he came out with this massive forehead.
Yeah. And
I was just like, oh no, he's got Down syndrome. And there's nothing wrong with Down syndrome kids. They're really lovely people. And I know a few of them. But you still don't want that for your child.
No.
And I was really just like upset. I didn't know. And then Tiff, man, it was like she was on a jackhammer and she had no control of it. She was like vibrating on the bed. And I'm like, what's going on? She goes, Josh, I'm really tired. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden the nurse is like, so you can take your son up into the waiting room. And I'm like, excuse me? What's going on with my wife? Everything's okay. Just go into the waiting room. You can push your son in this little trolley. And I'm like, wait, yeah, but what's happening with my wife? Don't worry. And she like kind of shoved me out the door. And I was gone. I was like, wait, where's the waiting room now? So that was really scary. And being like so late at night, they had no communication with me. So they didn't tell me what was going on with Tiff. I think it was like that stressful. I started crying in the waiting room.
Yeah. It's scary. Like they just go, here's your baby, go for a walk and we'll let you know when the wife's ready to be seen again, yet she can't feel anything, do anything, and she's saying stuff like that. Like, it's scary. Like, I could understand your upsetness when it comes to all that stuff, because you just have no idea whatsoever.
Yeah, like there was really poor communication, and that's kind of what stressed me out. So, but obviously my wife, she was all good, and she came to the room, and when I saw her, I broke down again, because it was just, I don't know if you've ever cried from relief, but it was like the best cry, because I was like, oh my God, I am going to be okay. Sorry about that. I am going to be okay. She's going to be okay, and we're going to be a happy family. But because I was crying and I was looking down at Harvey, she thought Harvey died and started crying.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
And she goes, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? I'm like, don't worry, he's okay. I'm just crying because there was no communication. I thought you died. And she goes, I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, she wouldn't have said that if she didn't wake up, would she?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
But how was the first time holding him?
Oh, man, it took me weeks. Oh, maybe even a month to get used to holding. Like, I've held babies before when I was really young, because obviously I'm the eldest child of 4. But you don't remember, and obviously I was always like had my parents around me to adjust positions, and then they would say, get ready in this position, and they'll put my brother or sister in my arms.
Yeah, it's like awkward because you're not used to holding something so fragile, and the last thing you want to do is to like hurt them. So it's like, oh my God, am I doing it right? Is he comfortable? He's not telling me if he's comfortable or not. He's just laying there. Talk to me, dude.
Yeah, and that's where I was just very like, I'd put my fingers under him, thinking like if I put my whole hands, I'd like break his ribs or something. And my wife would be like, it's fine, like his bones haven't fused properly yet, they'll just move with you. I'm like, are you sure? She's like, how many babies have I held? I'm like, yeah, but are you 100% positive? Because this ain't some rando's kid, this is our kid, remember? And
yeah,
I am Josh, like I don't know if I can handle a baby properly. But and that's where those mother groups and stuff would have been really good to be able to go to, because that education side of things would have been great for us.
Yeah, well, like with holding him and then changing him and doing his nappies and all that stuff is a totally different ball game.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I'd rather change his nappies back then to now. He's a friggin' psycho. He's always on the bed, jumping up and down. So you get his nappy off, bang, he's rolling. He's rolling, jumping on the bed, and then you try and grab him, he'll run away. You're like, come here, you little brat.
and there's dingleberries hanging from him, and they're dropping them down the hallways. He's running away with his little naked butt cheeks.
Mate, I don't. If they're dingleberries, I don't need to worry. I think it was 2 months in, he's laying on the bed and he's naked. We're changing him, and I reached across to grab a wipe, and he farted and shit just sprayed everywhere. My arm literally stopped the shit from hitting my face.
Oh, you know what? That would have been a good bloody photo if it hit your face, though.
I think we do. I may even put it up. But yeah, we've got a photo somewhere of it. And it was... And look, they're one of those things where I didn't get grossed out about it. I just had a good laugh, because all it is breast milk. Literally, it's brown breast milk.
Have you ever tasted breast milk?
We'll talk about that off air.
Oh shit! But putting that to rest. What about intimacy? Like, you can't just go straight back to it as soon as he's come out. So how does that all work? Yeah,
well, when being a C-section, women can't even drive for 6 weeks. So that kind of, or, you can do a bit of foreplay for the people out there, but they've got a scar that can open up really easily. The women have got to learn how to pee again,
Yeah, they've got to get all those muscles working again.
Yeah, and well, their muscles have got to heal. They've literally been like cut completely in half. Like it's not like a little tear from the gym.
Yeah, it's a gruesome truth. It's literally
Yeah.
been sliced and diced to get the little one out.
Yeah, so, they've got to learn how to walk properly again. They can walk, but learn how to walk properly, how to go to the toilet. It hurts to, get up off a chair. It hurts to, get on a chair. It hurts to lay down. So intimacy dries up for that period of time. But, I think that's where you've got to have another discussion with your partner and what the expectations are afterwards. And you'll sort that out well after, because there is sleepless nights and, caring for the baby.
That is definitely not your first priority, because, I haven't been through it. You have. But I can tell you now, some days Josh does come to work and it's like a zombie.
Yeah. So I'm pretty good though.
You are. At the start, it's always going to be rough. But once you get that first year or two in, it starts to get a little bit easier.
Easier in ways, harder in others. But
like
definitely,
the poo.
Yeah, the nappy changing and the not listening, and they can run away. So that like the other day, I brought Harvey a milkshake. He didn't want it, but he decided to go for a run down the street. I'm like, Harvey, get here! And I've got the dogs. I got a bacon and egg burger and his milkshake all in my arms, and I just put it all down. I said to the dogs, "Stay!" And I ran after him. And this guy looked at me like, "Man, your dogs are better than your child."
Yeah, but my dogs have had a few more extra years of training on him.
Yeah, and dogs grow and learn faster in certain aspects. So yeah,
that's another question. How did you overcome pets to having the little one in the house? Because I know that everyone's scared. I know some people can be afraid of their pets not adjusting to the new family life.
Well, did you hear about that Labrador that mauled that baby to death in its cot?
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a little while ago or recent, but a Labrador jumped in a cot or something like that and mauled a baby to death. And of course that's at the back of your minds, but I think it's very important on how you introduce your pets to the child. And for us, it was had in a capsule, brought it down, and we were around the child, like around Harvey and the dogs, and rewarding them when they would sniff him and they would sniff and walk away, and you would reward them. You go, "Good boy," or for us, "Good boy," or "Good girl" for Scarlett, and maybe give them a treat. So they learn that it's not a threat because it's a new smell. New smell, it's an outsider. If you took a duck, for instance, and just put it in a pond with a group of other ducks, those other ducks know that it's not from their tribe. So it's another mouth to feed. It's got another responsibility to have. So instead of looking after it, they kill it because it's just another burden on their head. And that's the same way wild animals think.
Yeah.
Especially in packs. So you have to teach them that, hey, this new smell is actually part of our pack now.
Yeah, like that's not premeditating, practicing. Like we are gonna, when me and my partner are ready to do that, we're gonna have those YouTube videos of noises and leaving rattles around the house and dummies and stuff like that. So when our little one comes along, our puppy's already climatized to some of the things that are already around the house, if that makes sense, and noises. Yeah.
And another thing is to be aware of, so Scarlett, which is our little terrier breed, she was like a nanny to Harvey when he was in a capsule. She'd always come up, sniff him, lick his feet, and like groom him. But as soon as he started to like realize, she was a dog and she had body parts pulling on the tail and stuff, that's when it got real scary, because now Scarlett is nothing like that. As soon as he comes near her, she's off. She's like, oh no, he's going to pull my tail or he's going to pull my hair. So, you're always monitoring.
Yeah, and that also differs between the type of dog you could also have. Not saying all dogs don't like kids, because, there's German Shepherds out there. I have a German Shepherd personally myself. And I've seen videos of German Shepherds getting treated like absolute shit by little kids that they've grown up with. But I think there's a bit more of a tolerance when it comes to bigger dogs because they can handle a little bit of a yanking or two, when it comes to little dogs, it hurts a bit more.
Yeah, and you should know, like, your dog's nature as well. Like, Enzo, he's a very timid, calm dog.
Yeah.
And he can take a lot. And that's because, as myself, I used to tackle him and physically and rough him up a little bit, but not to the point where, it was too bad. And I also taught him bite pressure. So he would bite my arm and I'd say, ouch. And he would know that whenever he put a mouth on me, it was hurting me. So he would stop. So now he knows with Harvey that he can only, if he does get overexcited, he'll only put the arm in the mouth. He won't actually even bite down.
Yeah.
So, and that's just like me knowing a little bit about dogs and what I had to do when I was bringing Harvey into our lives.
Yeah, maybe we can cover an episode of, dog experiences, dog training that we've gone through, because I've got a German Shepherd like I just mentioned, and me and my partner, we've been through a lot of training to get her to the point that she's at now. And you've also done a few big training sessions on other dogs that you've owned and past experiences with, I think it was Turbo or Buddy. And, we can go through stories like that on how you coped and dealt with what happened through that experience.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but from that, how did you deal with the 4 months of vaccine scares of, diseases and all that stuff? Because when he's so small and little, he's very fragile as well when it comes to his immune system.
Yeah, well, baby comes out, no immunity at all. So, and especially, it was like prime time COVID. People are getting locked down, the jabs were only just coming out and stuff like that. Not much research. So, yeah, the first 4 months, again, was just another stress. Like, I could go to work, literally get sick, bring home, give it to Harvey, he could die. And that's always in the back of your head. So, but, like, at the end of the day, I think with the second one now, we're a lot more relaxed. It's kind of, we've learnt so much, we've grown so far. We're going to encounter different challenges. But, if there's any if there's any couples out there that are thinking about wanting to be a parent, or if there's people out there that can't have kids, the foster system is really overwhelmed. And we actually started there. We actually started by fostering, like just doing relief work. So on weekends or school holidays, we took in a few kids, and just to see how me and Tiff would handle certain situations and stuff. And you can see that now with my son. Like, me and my son have a relationship where I am definitely the fun one, and mum is, the nurturing, caring one with a little bit more discipline. I don't mind giving him like a chocolate here or there and an ice cream if we've been jumping on the bed, sweating. So, yeah, it's kind of, you will establish those roles that you'll play, especially with the foster system.
Yeah, but I think it also means there's two types of disciplines in the relationship where he will be able to speak to mum about more sensitive things in a way, where he'll be able to talk to you about more boy stuff and, all the forward driving or girls and stuff like that. So it you and your partner will be able to communicate after you've had conversations with Harvey privately, and you get to experience one side of him when it comes to that stuff, and then Tiff will get to do the more of a caring, loving type in a way, because you got to have a balance of fun and what is it? Fun and
Like discipline.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the disciplinary thing is quite interesting because, like, what at the moment would you expect to, like, smack a child?
Yes and no.
Yeah, because and hands down, like, I'm gonna open up as, be brutally honest. I thought I would be one of those parents where you're out of line, I'm gonna smack you. Like, show my my assertiveness, and I'm the alpha male in this relationship, and if you don't do like what you're told by me, I'll show you like I'll show you that you have to do what I say. And now having a child, and look, I'm not judging parents out there that do smack their kids, and it is a disciplinary way, but I found that Harvey, and look, you don't smack kids like at one or because they don't understand, but I've found that he's learnt really fast where I've diverted his actions and promoted other actions.
Yep.
For example, like, he's gone to bite me, and he has bitten me before, and it bloody hurts. So the next time he bit me, I actually told him to kiss me instead, and he gave me a kiss because he knew what that was, and then he just went off. And the next time he came, he went to bite me again, and I told him to kiss. And ever since then, if he goes to bite me, he will change his action and give me a kiss. So, I haven't actually experienced that 5-year-old naughtiness yet, or, you know what I mean? So I can't speak for that age group, but between the ages of 1 and 2, diverting the actions that you do not want to encourage and put in better actions, and they will learn a lot quicker, in my belief.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's what you want, and talking about learning, how do you find those milestones? Because I'm pretty sure you have like a milestone that you kind of want to check off as time goes on with certain ages.
Yeah, so they say, like, by a certain month they should be walking and crawling and, rolling, saying certain amount of words. Harvey, he was walking 10 and a half months. So, and for a boy, that's like pretty quick. For a girl, that's kind of standard, I'm pretty sure. But his talking, like, was very poor. He wasn't very vocal. Now it's starting to pick up. Like, he is a sponge. The other day, I accidentally kicked a container, and I went, "Oh shit!" He went, "Shit!" I'm like, "Oh, I meant shoot." So right now, he's picking up everything.
So next time he says that, Mummy said that, not Daddy.
Yeah, that's it. If he swears, then we'll be like, his mother has a foul mouth of hers, doesn't she?
Yeah. And then the next sentence will be, "Let's blame Mum."
Yeah, that's it.
No, it's good. That's what you want.
Yeah, so, but, kids, they give you the biggest laugh. They're so funny without being funny. And then they'll ruin the funniness by doing it over and over again. So then you're like, ha, ha, ha. Okay, that's old.
Yeah, because they go off physical and emotional cues because they can't really communicate and speak yet.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, they give you a laughter of a lifetime, and it's nothing more rewarding than, seeing your own child grow, learn, and just start to thrive.
Yeah, that's it. And at the end of the day, everyone runs off fumes.
Oh, yeah. So, and that's another thing that, I think we might have touched base, but, like, talk to your partner about it and the expectations. I am extremely lucky. My wife doesn't believe in me getting up in the middle of the night, especially that she was breastfeeding. So there was no use for me just to be up to keep her up. But, there was certain times where it was, all right, I'm doing from, let's say, 8 to 11. So Tiff could sleep and then do the night shift, or something like that. You know, you do have to balance each other out and make sure that you both stay sane, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. So I'd like to hear some questions from the ladies and gentlemen in the comments or on our email of what things you'd like to hear about, and maybe we can throw another quick post up on our Instagram or on our website with this episode to add into those extra questions that we missed out on. Do you have any more that we could spin through, or?
Well, I was just going to say that on the website, we're going to put up, because, you know, COVID's still present. There is mums groups going out there and starting to pick back up, but I'll talk to my wife and we'll put up some information if you're not confident going to the mums groups, or we might even put up a few mums groups that are recommended in the Western Sydney area, and just to help those newly to be parents with a bit of information, or even the parents that have already come and having their second, third, or seventh and eighth. You know, there might be something in there that you could, you know, just jot that memory, or you might learn something new.
Yeah, that's it. Benefit from something. Because at the end of the day, you're always going to learn something.
Yeah, that's it. Kids always teach you something. And if it's not, you know, a fact, they're teaching you something about yourself.
That's it. So, we are the listeners. My name's Kyle.
And I am Josh.
Have a good afternoon.
See you, everyone.